Hi, good morning. Hope all of you are fine. In the last class, we have discussed about Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process. Okay, now today we are moving to the definition of a separable spaces. Also, we are discussing about the basis in a normed space. Okay. A normed space X is said to be a separable space if it contains a countable dense set. A normed space X is called a separable space if there exists a dense countable set in X. Now, what is the meaning of that? Clearly, there exists a subset A subset of X such that A must be countable. Okay, now what do you mean by a countable set? You can define a 1-1 onto map from set of all natural numbers to to A. It is the countable set. Now we have to there exists A must be A is a subset of X. A is countable. Also A is dense in X. A is dense in X means A closure must be equal to X. A closure must be equal to X. Now suppose the set. Suppose this is our set. Suppose x1, x2, etc. This is our set. Okay, and suppose this is actually countable set. Okay, now suppose A is equal to this one. Also A closure is equal to X. Okay, now clearly A is a subset of X. Okay, now what about span of A? Span of A equal to span of x1, x2, etc. Okay, now what about span of A whole closure? What about span of A whole closure? Set of O, clearly A is a subset of X. Also we have A closure equal to X. Okay. Now clearly A is contained in span of A. Okay. A is contained in span of A. Therefore, A closure is contained in span of A closure. Okay, now we have, and this is contained in X. Span of these are x1, x2, etc. Xn are elements in X. Span of this is clearly contained in X. But we have A closure equal to X. This implies A closure equal to X. A closure subset of span of A whole closure subset of X. This implies this X equal to. From this we get A closure equal to span of A whole closure. Okay, this implies span of A, suppose A equal to this one, x1, x2, etc. xn, span of A closure is equal to X. Okay, now just note this point. If A is a subset of X such that A closure is equal to X, then span of A closure is equal to X. Okay, now we are going to one corollary. I don't know why the name corollary. For that there is no theorem. I think and the Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process, they are treated as a theorem. Okay, now the corollary says that the Hilbert space H is separable if and only if there exists a complete orthonormal system I greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so once again I am repeating, the Hilbert space H is separable. Okay, if and only if there exists a complete orthonormal system. This is an if and only if condition. Okay, theorem, corollary. Now, what about the if part? Suppose Hilbert space H is separable. Okay, and we have to prove that there exists a complete orthonormal system. Okay, also now we have to prove what about the converse part. Converse part is, suppose there exists a complete orthonormal system EI, I greater than or equal to 1, then we have to prove this space is separable. Okay, the converse part is very easy, that we will prove later. Now what about the necessary part? Suppose the Hilbert space H is separable. Suppose H is separable. Now what is the meaning of that? H is separable implies H contains a countable dense subset. Okay, this implies H contains, there exists a countable dense set in H. This implies H contains a countable dense subset. We are denoting this as capital Y equal to set of all yi such that I greater than or equal to 1. This is our countable y1, y2, y3 etc. Therefore this is a countable and this set is dense in our H. This implies Y closure is equal to H. Okay. Now we have to prove there exists a complete orthonormal system. For this, from this system we have to construct a linearly independent system. Okay, and if you get a linearly independent system, then using orthogonalization, Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process, you can create a orthonormal system. Okay, so we have to derive, we have to find a linearly independent system from this system. Okay, here we apply induction process. Okay, now the set Y equal to y1, y2 etc. be the countable dense set in our Hilbert space H. Clear? Okay. Now let n1 be the first integer such that yn1 not equal to 0. Suppose y1 not equal to 0, then our n1 is 1. Because this is not linearly independent. We have to construct a linearly independent set from this system. Okay, so clearly see if a set contains 0, then that become clearly linearly dependent. As we want a linearly independent system, we cannot choose 0 from this set. Okay, so you choose n1 be the first integer such that yn1 not equal to 0. Suppose y1 not equal to 0, then n1 is equal to 1. Okay, and set x1 is equal to yn1. In that case, x1 is equal to y1. Now this implies span of x1 is equal to span of y1. Okay. Now suppose y1 is equal to 0 and y2 is not equal to 0. y2 not equal to 0. Then we can choose n2 is equal to n1 is equal to 2. n1 is equal to 2. This implies x1 is equal to y2. This implies span of x1 is equal to span of y1 comma y2, because y1 is 0 and linear combination of 0 and y2 is same as linear combination of y2. Okay. Now suppose y2 is also equal to 0 and y3 also equal to 0 and y4 also equal to 0, and suppose y5 not equal to 0, then we can choose n1 is equal to 5 and set x1 is equal to y5. Okay, this implies span of x1 is equal to span of y1, y2, etc., y2, y3, y4, y5. Okay, this implies actually span of x1 is equal to span of yi. I varies from 1 to n1. Span of x1 is equal to span of yi. I varies from 1 to n1. Okay, so thus we get x1. Now we have to find what is x2. Now what about x2? Let n2 be the first integer such that x1 and yn2 are linearly independent. Listen carefully. n2 be the first integer such that x1 and yn2 are linearly independent. Okay. Then take x2 is equal to yn2. x2 equal to yn2. Suppose our n1 is, I am taking n1 as 2. Okay, then what about x1? x1 is our y1, y2. Clear? Now choose n2 be the first integer such that x1 and yn2 are linearly independent. Suppose our y2, y3 is sum 2 times y2. Okay, then this is equal to 2 times x1. Then y3 and x1 are linearly dependent. Okay, or if you take y3 is equal to some, y3 never be 0. Okay, suppose y3 is, if y3 is equal to 0, then we cannot take y3. Okay, similarly if y3 is equal to some k into y1, yes, n1 is equal to 2, that means y1 is equal to 0. This implies y3 is equal to 0. Okay, so we can't choose n2 is equal to 3 because y3 is 0. Well, okay, now suppose y4 is equal to, y3 is equal to, y4 is equal to some 5 into y2. Then this is also a multiple of y2 and that's equal to 5 into x1. Therefore, y4 is also a multiple of x1. This implies x1 and y4 are linearly dependent. We have to choose n2 such that x1 and yn2 are linearly independent. Okay, suppose some y6 is not equal to some multiple of y2. Okay, then some kx1. Okay, k y2. This is not equal to kx1. This implies x1 and y6 are linearly independent. This implies we can choose our n2 as 6. And we can take x2 is equal to y6. Okay, hope it is clear. Okay, so n2 be the first integer such that x1 and yn2 are linearly independent. Okay, and we take x2 is equal to yn2. Okay, so x2 is equal to, here we take x2 is equal to y6. Okay, now what about span of up to this term y1, y2 up to y3? y3 is a multiple of y2, y2 that means y3 is a multiple of x1, y4 is a multiple of x1, y5 is also a multiple of some 3 into x1. Okay, then y6 is not a multiple of x1. Okay, so now what about span of x1 x2? Span of x1 x2 is clearly equal to span of x1 x2 span of y1 y2 y3 y4 y6, because x1 is y1 is 0, x1 is y2, y3 is a multiple of x1, y4 is a multiple of x1, y5 is a multiple of x1, and x2 is equal to y6. Therefore, span of x1 x2 is equal to span of this one, and this is equal to span of yi. I varies from 1 to n2. Okay. Now we prove this by mathematical induction. Suppose this is true for n is equal to m. Okay, that means by induction we can extract xi's, x1, x2, etc., xsum, such that in the next case here x2 is yn2. Clearly x2 and x1 are linearly independent. Okay, here x2, y6 is our x2. x2 is not equal to kx1. Now what is the meaning of that? x1 and x2 are linearly independent. Now you find next, what about the third one, x3? Let n3 be the first integer such that x1, okay, x1 comma x2 and yn2 are linearly independent, or yn2 are linearly independent with the span of x1 x2. Okay, so okay, proceeding like this we get this, suppose this x1 x2 etc. xsum such that they are linearly independent, and span of x1 x2 etc. xm is equal to span of yi. I is equal to 1 to n, here m, this implies n m. Now let n m plus 1, okay, be the first integer such that ym plus 1 is linearly independent of xi. I varies from 1 to etc. m. Okay, then clearly we have y, we choose x m plus 1 is equal to y, listen here, y n m plus 1. Okay, y n m plus 1 is linearly independent of xi. I varies from 1 to etc. m. Now we choose x m plus 1 is equal to y n m plus 1. x m plus 1 is equal to y n m plus 1. Then clearly what about span of x1 x2 etc. xm, clearly this is equal to span of y1 y2 etc. ynm. Okay, now here we are adding one more thing, span of x1 x2 etc. xm plus 1 is equal to, okay, clearly this is span of y1 y2 etc. ynm comma yn m plus 1. Why? n m plus 1 is the first integer such that this is linearly independent of this one. Okay, so all other terms Okay, all other terms. Okay, all other terms are clearly in this span. Okay, thus we get x1, x2, etc. xm linearly independent such that span of x1, x2, etc. xm equal to span of y1, y2, etc. yn1, etc. yn2. Because in earlier case, if you choose this is equal to y2, n1 is equal to 2, then this is actually yn1. Okay, then we have chosen n is equal to n2 is equal to some 6, then y2, y3, y4, y5 and y6 is there, and y6 you can write as yn2. So that's why dotted here and dotted here. Okay, so this one. Okay, so by induction we can say there exists xi I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity such that this system is linearly independent. Okay, also what about span of xi? Span of xi I greater than or equal to 1 is equal to span of y1, y2, etc. Okay, and this is actually span of I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity. Okay, now we have our set y, capital Y is equal to I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity, and we have y closure is equal to x because y is a dense set, and we have already proved span of A closure is equal to A closure. Therefore span of y1, y2, etc. this closure is equal to our space X. Okay, therefore span of X, this is actually equal to our space X. This whole closure is equal to. Okay, actually now we have to construct thus we get a linearly independent system, and if n is finite, if our dimension, suppose dimension is n, Hilbert space n, and n is finite, then we will get a then these procedures stop at a finite number of times. Okay, suppose n is equal to infinity, then we get a infinite set. If this dimension is a finite, then we can find only finite number of elements. They are linearly independent. Okay, so if n is a finite, then this procedure there may be exist x1, x2, etc. some xn, and this set is linearly independent. If n is equal to infinity, then we get a x1, x2, etc. and this set is linearly independent. Okay, now if you apply Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process, we will get u1. Let u1 is equal to x1 by norm of x1 and u2 as in Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process. Okay, you can write this as some ei. Okay, that is our notation, e and e2. Okay, now clearly, now what about span of? Now by Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process, we have span of xi I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity is same as span of second property ei I equal to 1 to infinity. Okay, okay, so given any linearly independent set, you will get a orthonormal system. Okay, ei. Okay, and span of this is equal to this one. And what about span of ei? Span of this, span of xi I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity is same as span of yi I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity. Okay, and this equal to this one. Okay, and that's equal to x, that's equal to h. Okay, we have h is equal to span of xi I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity. Okay. Now this is equal to this one, implies span of ei I equal to 1 to infinity. Okay, span of ei I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity, closure equal to h implies span of ei is dense in h. Span of ei is dense in h means ei is a complete system. Okay, so we get by Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization process, we get ei's are orthonormal, and using this we get ei's are complete. Okay, so thus there exists a complete orthonormal system ei I greater than or equal to 1 to infinity. Now conversely assume that ei I greater than or equal to 1 is a complete orthonormal system, and we have to prove h is a separable space. To prove h is a separable space, it is enough to prove that h contains a countable dense set. Okay, now ei I greater than or equal to 1 is complete. That means this span of sigma I equal to 1 to n sum alpha I ei, alpha I n is scalar, is dense in H. This is the definition of complete space. Okay, now if you choose alpha I be any rational number, suppose alpha I belongs to Q, set of all rational number, then this set is a countable set. Okay, also this is dense in H, and as alpha I are rational numbers, this set is a countable set. Okay, thus there exists a countable dense set in H. This implies H is separable. Okay, now we are going to the definition of a basis. Okay, a sequence xi I equal to 1 to infinity is called a basis of a normed space X if for every x belongs to X there exists a unique series sigma I greater than or equal to 1 ai xi that converges to X. Okay, that is x is equal to sigma I is equal to 1 to infinity ai xi, actually linear span. Okay, then we call this set xi I equal to 1 to infinity is a basis of our normed space X. Now we are moving to one theorem, and the theorem says that a complete orthonormal system ei I equal to 1 to infinity in H is a basis in H. Okay, complete orthonormal system is a basis in H. Now to prove this is a basis in H, it is enough to prove that for any x belongs to H, okay, you have to find there is a series sigma ai ei is equal, or this series converges to X, or sum of this series equal to X. Okay, we have there is one corollary of Bessel's inequality, that for any x belongs to H and any orthonormal system ei I equal to 1 to infinity, there exists a y belongs to H such that y is equal to sigma I is equal to 1 to infinity inner product of x ei. Okay, just to go through this a corollary after Bessel's inequality. Okay, now let x belongs to H, we assume let x belongs to H. Okay, and for using this result we have y is equal to this one. Now what about x minus y? X minus y is equal to x minus sigma I is equal to 1 to infinity inner product of x ei ei. Okay, now what about x minus y, inner product of x minus y into ei, and this is equal to x minus sigma I is equal to 1 to infinity inner product of x ei ei, okay, ei, okay, and this is equal to, apply again linearity property, inner product of x ei minus inner product of sigma I is equal to 1 to infinity inner product of x ei ei, as here I we can denote this as some j. Okay, so this is actually j, and this is x ej, and this is ej. Okay, and this is equal to inner product of x ej minus. Now what about this inner product? Okay, here also apply linearity property. This is actually, what about the first term? First term is x e1 e1 ej. Okay, inner product x e1, this is actually inner product of x e1 e1 plus inner product of x e2 e2 plus etc. comma, this is actually inner product of ej. So this is equal to inner product of x e1 e1 comma ej plus inner product of x e2 e2 comma ej, and in each term you can take x e1 outside and this become e1 ej, and clearly that is 0, and this is 1, e1 ej is 1 if I is equal to j. So now whatever the term left here, all other term left except ej ej equal 1, that means this coefficient become x ej, that's equal to x ej, but x ej minus x ej equal to 0. Okay, therefore x minus y is orthogonal to ej. This implies x minus y is orthogonal to ej for every j. Okay, we have another result. X is orthogonal to fi for every fi, then x must be equal to 0. Okay, from this x minus y is orthogonal to ej implies x minus y is equal to 0. This implies x equal to y. Okay, therefore our x is equal to this one. Okay, this implies x is a linear combination of sigma I equal to 1 to infinity x ei ei inner product of x ei ei ei. Okay, that means this is a series. You can mark this as some alpha I. Okay, so x is equal to this one. This implies our ei form a basis. We have to prove this representation is unique. That is, suppose x is equal to some sigma I is equal to 1 to some ai ei. We have to prove inner product of this. These are equal. That means inner product of x ei equal to ai. Now what about inner product of x ei? This is, by definition, this is sigma I is equal to 1 to infinity or n ai ei comma ei. Okay, and this you can mark as some ej, so this become ej, and this is equal to actually a1 e1 plus a2 e2 plus a3 e3 plus etc. If it is finite number of terms, that means some a plus an en, but if there are infinite terms, then you can write like this ej, and this is equal to a1 e1 comma ej plus inner product of A2, E2, comma EJ plus etc. And this is equal to A1, you can take outside A1, E1, EJ plus A2, E2, EJ. All these terms are 0 except the one, EJ, EJ. Okay. Plus etc. At that time coefficient is AJ. AJ, EJ, EJ plus etc. All other terms are 0 and this is equal to AJ, inner product EJ, EJ, and but inner product of AJ, EJ, EJ is 1. Norm of EJ, this implies 1, this is equal to AJ. Therefore, if x equal to this one, then x inner product of x EJ equal to AJ. Therefore, representation is unique. Now, the next corollary is every separable Hilbert space has an orthonormal basis. Okay. We have every complete orthonormal system is a basis in H. Every complete orthonormal system is a basis in H. And if H is a separable space, then clearly there exists a complete orthonormal system. Okay, using these two conditions we get every separable Hilbert space has an orthonormal basis. Okay. Today we have discussed separable space. Also we have discussed the definition of a basis. Okay, basis in a normed space. Hope everything is clear for you. In the next class we will discuss about Parseval's identity.